lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge, and got my boy Mario with me again. We are gonna talk some '90s Marvel comics, but it kind of might not be the kind of '90s that you would expect. You know, this is a Cap by Mark Waid, his first go round with Ron Garney, and it's weird. The inker not in all of them, but Scott Koblish ends up like doing Deadpool and shit in the 2010s, I think, right, with Jerry Duggan. He's inking this, and
it's Garney on pencils.
So I had never read this, and before we started recording, I had told Mario, I told you that my first Cap comic was the Heroes Return by when they come back to the book. So this ends the first volume, and then they go to Heroes Reborn with Liefeld and Jim Lee when they do their fucking runs over there with Avengers and Fantastic Four and Cap and shit like that. And I think it's funny that they ended up bringing the same creative team back, because a lot of people did like it. And I think I've heard Rob say that this was like Marvel's kind of like last fucking thing that they were trying to do to say, look, we can make it a big seller kind of deal, you know? Because like I think a lot of the creators that were there, like they were butting heads, right? Like they didn't want to see Jim Lee and Rob come in and fucking take over the line. You know, I think that there was a little animosity, I guess, between them. But anyways, so I had wanted to read this. I picked this up. I picked up the other run too. I think they do the first 23 issues of the next series as well. But I knew that, you know, you talked about this run for such a long time with me.
Well, 447 issue 447 was the first Cap book I ever bought. It was one of the first books I ever bought, period, when I was 10 years old.
Nice.
And it's just weird reading it because it's my frame of reference is just so different, because I remember reading it as a kid and it being like just the idea, because as a 10-year-old, the frame of reference of like, oh man, Cap's teaming up with his like mortal enemy. That's crazy. You know, and reading it now, it's like that shit happens all the time. Like this is all just, you know, tried and true stuff we see from Cap. But at the time, it was like that was kind of the way it was like marketed. It was like, what kind of crazy thing is happening where Red Skull's working with Captain America? You know, tune in to check it out. What's going on?
So this is post armor Cap, right? I mean,
this is because that's where it picks up from, is where he's dying because the super soldier serum's like deteriorating. And he's like dying off and getting weak, and this is kind of an excuse to like reboot him.
I like I said, Mark Waid wrote my first comic book, right? Like it was The Flash. So he's always been one of my favorite writers, not just because of that, but because he, in my opinion, is one of the consistently best writers in comics, and continues to like put out good product. You know, all these years later, and he's been in the industry for fucking over 40 years. Started in the 80s. Like that's crazy, you know? Like
this is 10 years later, because this is like 96. So he's already been in the industry for like 8, 9, 10 years around at this point.
Right. And I, you know, like before we get into like some of the story points, like to me, this holds up very well. I know that there's some aspects that are a product of its time. Like I'm aware, you know, like obviously like the coloring is way different than what you'd get nowadays. It's like right in the middle of like when it was really kind of shitty and the bleed would always
we talked about this in some of the other 90s books, but this is a transition period with the coloring going from the old school 80s 90s early 90s approach to like what we've seen in the 2000s.
It's definitely not the Ron Garney I was expecting, because like Ron Garney like does not draw the same way and that like he did back then, but I like the way it opens up, right? Like it opens up and like you get a little bit of callbacks to like Cap in his past, and it's like kind of like almost introducing readers to Cap if you're not like familiar with him. So but I thought he did it in a good way. It didn't feel like, oh, we're just gonna rehash his origin, right? Like it was just like little bits and pieces. Looking at this version of Avengers though was
and the Black Widow at the time
was hilarious, dude. I mean, that's Clint, right, as Goliath back then.
And you got Black Widow, and this is the Black Widow when she had like the faux hawk kind of thing going on.
Yeah, and just like the one widow, there's like
Yeah.
over her fucking breast.
Yep.
Yeah. Hercules with his fucking
When he looked like he was in an 80s hair metal band.
yeah, it's fucking so like that's the corniness of it that I had to just kind of ignore as I was reading.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that both story. I think there's just two stories.
Yeah, it's two story arcs.
Right. So Cap's dying and the fucking you have these terrorists that are holding hostage and they've been hiding the fact that Cap was dying, like he's missing.
Yeah.
So I like that whole thing, and then whatever, we're gonna spoil it. It's fucking old as shit, this comic. So
yeah, it's
I like that. I like that it ends up being Red Skull that needs him.
Yeah.
And fucking resurrects him. And I almost forgot the fact that he was inhabiting a clone body of Steve.
Yep.
Because I never knew that because I never read the older Cap comics, but Brubaker touches on it in his run. So like reading it here, I'm like, oh shit. So this is kind of around when it was, or I mean, I don't know when he was in the clone body, but it went back this far, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize it. But
yeah, to me, like the things that stood out compared, because while reading it too, I was thinking about how is this different from the stuff you see now, and why does this stuff like resonate to me more? And one of the things that I really liked, it happened more in the second arc, but he would stop to save people all the time.
mm-hmm.
Like when anything happens, his immediate response is, "What's happening around me, and how do I help people?" And I think nowadays with like a lot of Cap comics, they don't really do that anymore. It's about the big bad and the big things that are happening, and because he's supposed to be a more regular dude. He doesn't have as much power as most people, so his frame of reference is more like Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
where he's more, even though he's Cap and he's fucking leader of the Avengers, but he dives in and helps the helicopter that crashed. He worries about the kids that are trapped over here. He's worrying about the regular people, and then he's gonna go punch Red Skull in the face.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that happens a lot. And I kind of miss that because you don't really see that as much. And there's also a huge thing about legacy and like what he's about. Like you see that kind of reiterated a lot throughout the book, especially with the Red Skull part, where they say multiple times, like you were literally created to fight Hitler, and this is literally your purpose, and this is literally like the thing you were supposed to do. And like that's the when he gets trapped in a cosmic cube, like that's his fantasy. That's the end goal, was finally reaching that end that he never got to do, which is finally win the war and beat Hitler.
Yeah. I think that but this goes back to like what we talked about when we talked about Mark Waid, is that
with Daredevil,
he gets like the characters to their core, and he gets the human aspect of them.
Yeah.
Because you can, like DC, like they've always said, like the DC heroes, like they're like gods, right?
Yeah.
But you could kind of say the same thing with Marvel, just not as powerful, I guess. None of them were as like just like literally like Superman is considered a god, right? Wonder Woman considered a god. I think Thor, maybe you could say that with, because he is an actual god, but like the rest of them are more down to earth.
Right.
But the way he writes these characters, it's like from the get-go, dude. Like I don't know if that was the first time he wrote Cap. Like I don't have the facts here, but
with Waid,
he just seems to get how to write them down to their essence,
Yeah.
And he pulls that out. And that's why you said like you don't see a lot of this stuff. This is the kind of stuff I do miss.
Yeah.
I don't think that I like the espionage Cap from Brubaker. Don't get me wrong, but I like this kind of Cap too. And I think he kind of a little bit returned to that when Waid came back in the 2015 when he did with Somni.
With Somni, right? Yeah, and that's what I was hoping he would stick around that book a lot too, because that's what his move is to not try to modernize it and not try to go with like this gritty, realistic lens. It's more of, what if 1946 Cap was popped into 2015? What would that be like? And that's kind of Waid's approach.
That's how it should write.
Yeah. And there's like a wholesome quality to it. There's like more altruistic quality to the way he writes the characters. And I think really works. And it's funny because you read this is such a long time ago and a long time before Daredevil, but it's the same kind of approach. Yeah. Obviously, just a little bit outdated. Some of the art, some of the things are outdated because it has to be. But you can see where Daredevil came from this.
For sure. And this was considered the gritty era in comics. This was the era of Image.
Right.
You know, this is when, you know, the dark period. I don't know. Not the dark ages. I hate to say it that way, but it is kind of like how some people refer to it. Right. Yeah. But he doesn't write that way. He did Kingdom Come as an answer to that kind of style in comic books. And you know, I fucking really love these.
Oh, there's some fucking great shots in
there. There is really, really great shots. I like this version of Ron Garney. I like his stuff now and the way he draws now, but I kind of dig like the way his approach was back then, because it's a little bit different than I think how he approaches the storytelling aspect in his art now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really like the art. I mean, it's definitely an earlier version of him.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I like those earlier versions of artists. You know, like sometimes I don't necessarily always like where they end up.
I think it depends, because Garney did that Conan book, right? That was like one of the last things that I remember him doing.
Was that the Savage Sword?
Yeah, the other one.
Okay, I didn't read that one. And that was the one with Duggan, right?
But I think and I think his art style suits that one. His newer style really works with that style now because it's Conan. But with this, it fits the tone of the story really well. It's like he draws Cap very heroically, and I think a lot of his movements, he's always looks like he's posing in a museum pose, even when he's fucking shit up. It's always like this very like kinetic style, or he's just fucking standing there all like stoic and shit, and it just works really well for the character. And then even his female characters, of course, fit the style of the times.
Yeah, look at this.
Sharon's gigantic hair.
Yeah, this is like one of my favorite spreads in all of the issues that I read. Mostly because it's something you rarely see. He's fucking defending Red Skull. Just let that motherfucker die, dude. You know? But yeah, I agree. I like some of the shots, some of the angles he chooses. Like there's one where a Cap, it's like an overhead, but it's kind of like a side angle looking down, and he's just like standing there.
Yeah,
it's such a powerful pose.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, I think it's when he goes sees the president when he gets arrested. It's a lot of head down isometric shots.
Yeah.
But it really sells. It really works. It's just really well done.
Sharon's kind of a bitch though, huh? In this one.
Yeah, this version's interesting.
I have not read a lot of Sharon except Brubaker. So I was like reading it and I'm like, man, she is kind of a C word, dude, a little bit, you know. I won't say the word out loud, but she kind of is.
She's giving Steve shit the whole time, and he's just trying to help you. Why are you so mad?
I know. I'm like, he hasn't done anything, bitch.
And he's like, he legitimately thought you were dead this whole time. And she's like, well, I wasn't. And like, why is this not his fault? You thought you were dead.
It's such a, like, I get it. I get why she was written that way, but it's like, it's such a weird take from her perspective. You know what I mean? Like, if that was in the real world, like, and she was talking to her, like, what the fuck did you want me to do? Like, you were dead, bitch. You know, like, am I supposed to move on? Like,
if I knew you were alive, I would have saved you, because that's what Steve does, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it's and I love the hair. Her hair is just so fucking gigantic.
It's 90s as far as I know. That's some 90s hair.
Yep. The covers are also really gorgeous. That's one of the main things that like got my attention when I was a kid. Is all the covers are really striking.
Yeah, I think this might be my favorite.
Nice.
Because it's just it's a very classic, you know, and it's supposed to be like the cover of a magazine, like Time magazine or something. Yeah. You know, and I thought that was
there's dope. That one too that's I thought it was an homage to Death of Superman, where it's just Steve's suit like against something, just kind of fluttering in the wind. I'm trying to find which one it was. 451.
Oh yeah. This one.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going. I really like that second arc too. The Man Without a Country. That one was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I also wish that comics were still this price. FYI, you know.
Well, I like how the cover says still $195.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look at this. I mean, this cover price is fucking. Oh, this is $295. This is a fucking double issue. But yeah, I think that for me, I really enjoyed the first arc, but it was the second one that I think he picked up, and it just felt like it was such a neutered end. Like he should have been able to go longer. but
Yeah,
they had already agreed
Yeah.
to do the Heroes Reborn, and I feel like that's why they brought him back.
It feels like what we've been doing now, where like with Daredevil, he did the same thing happen. They got relaunched, and it's the same creative team. It didn't really need to be that way. This is kind of like the proto version of that.
Right.
Marvel was doing that for forever. But yeah, like I think one of the interesting bits, because it wasn't super normal, is the further you go back, the less you realize that there were these long overarching stories, even though you had arcs, 3-issue arcs, two issue arcs or whatever. There was an ongoing story. That wasn't really normal the further you go back. So here, I think he did a really good job of having an arc that fed into the next arc, and it was an ongoing story. You were seeing Sharon go from where she's fucking mad at Steve and is slowly kind of forgiving him, and then kind of hates him because she wants him again, but she's fighting it. And like you can see how this story would have kept going, and there easily could have been another 2 arcs leading to Sharon and Steve being back together. Steve being reinstated at the end of the second arc. Like it was definitely clearly going that way, and it just kind of ends all of a sudden, and you're like, that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, another good image right here, right on his throat.
Yep.
But yeah, Mark Waid has talked about that. Like he what's it called? Yeah, he said that's the way he writes. Like he doesn't just write for the trade. You know what I mean? Like, and that's not everything feeds into the next.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and there's always a payoff. And if going back and having reread his Flash run multiple times, reading his Fantastic Four run, and I'm sure when I continued his Cap, like I'm going to see it, like I'm going to see something that pays off, right?
Yeah.
You don't see that as much in comics. You don't really see long runs in comic books, so like you never know how many issues you're going to get because Marvel, DC, they may give you 6 issues and they may not have you back for a second arc. But it's like, I miss the days where like you could have picked up any of these comics. And that's what I realized as I was reading it. You could have picked any of them up and it could have been your first.
And that's one of the reasons why they explain so much. Like you talked about the beginning of the first arc, it recaps because of that same reason. It's like, let's assume that you haven't been reading everything. So let's catch you up real fast so we can just keep going. But I think that was more expected back in those days. Like we've talked about that many times on this channel, that was a pretty normal thing. Was just, you just kind of have to pick it up. They're going to give you a little recap and you just pick it up.
Yeah.
Oh, Cap's dying. Some bad shit happened. He was in armor. Don't worry about it. Just fucking move forward. That's it.
Yeah. And if you really want to know, go get some fucking back issues.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think it's another thing that and I don't want to sound like an old.
Did you yelling at the kids to get off your lawn?
Yeah, but it is something that I think is missing in comics, and I think it sometimes I hate because it feels like they're stretching out a story. Yeah. You know, sometimes it feels like something that could have been done in like a 2-3 issue arc. You're not doing it because you want to fill it out for the trade paperback.
Yeah, you want to get the 6 issues in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that too. That the long runs are super rare now, unfortunately. Which means that you don't get these long planned out things like the way Thor got planned out by Aaron. Most of the stuff that really stands out to us both is usually the stuff that has these long overarching stories, like Daredevil. One of the reasons why that's books has so much weight is because you look at there's 3 people involved, and not 4, 5 people involved in the Kevin Smith stuff, and it was all basically one long story because they never did a Donny Cates with Thor where you're like, oh, let's just forget about that and just shake it away and do my own thing. They didn't do that. They just kept going with the story. Like that. One of the first things that happened, like the whole thing of him being outed and even Echo happened really early on the run, and you're still seeing ramifications of that for fucking 10 years. And that doesn't happen anymore.
I know. That's shitty.
Yeah.
Because it should be that way. It shouldn't just be like, no, I'm going to just do my take. You can do your take, but it should be organic. It shouldn't just be like all the people that have been reading this book for, let's say 2 years. Let's say a writer was on it for 2 years, right? Like, it just feed off that and take that somewhere else. And you can organically take it in a different direction to where you want it to end up. But it's not that case. And it's exactly what Donny Cates did with Thor. And that's why I have such an issue with that run. And I'm not even gonna say he's a bad writer. He doesn't know how to end a story, I will say that he does not know how to end one, but just from the get-go, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, it
Like,
just seems strange because I understand the pressure of coming off someone like Jason Aaron on Thor, but it's just strange when it's like issue 2 and you're already like dismantling all this. I'm like that's just a really weird idea.
yeah, it just seems like he could have still got to where he was going.
Just taking your time. Just plan it out to slowly erode what Aaron transitioned into the thing that you want to do. So the whole King Thor, all of that stuff, sure, but just do it. No, don't do it on issue 2. That's so weird.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing that people fucking do, you know. And it's how people probably feel with Heroes Reborn. And I'm not saying I'm not saying those are bad comics. I'm just saying that it's like you took all your characters and boom, they're just fucking in a pocket universe. They're all different, you know. And that might be why it was strong in the beginning, because people, and that's why most books, even nowadays, like number 1s will be very strong. Maybe the 2s drop off a little bit. By issue 6, dude, you know, like those numbers are gonna fucking go down.
Yeah.
If it's not the greatest thing, or if people aren't really digging it. And I think there are still a lot of people like us that want the familiar, but also having it be moved forward. And I think that this is another perfect example of that. You know, like you
he's still doing it now. We just talked about how Wade's been around for 40 years, but he's still doing it now.
Yeah. Like his World's Finest is awesome.
I'm glad he's at DC again. I'm glad he's doing it because he obviously prefers DC, seems to be his thing, but he's still kicking ass all these years later.
Dude, I mean, such a shame he was blacklisted for whatever reason. Him and whoever other creators he said were on this list of where they just wouldn't get work. You know, I think that's like kind of similar with John Byrne at Marvel. Like they won't give him work, and that's why he does his. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I'm speculating.
Yeah,
but like he does his X-Men Elsewhere, and he serializes it on his fucking site, issues upon issues, like of fan fiction basically.
Yeah.
But he fucking letters it and draws it. It's basically almost a finished product. It just needs to be inked, you know. But he renders it damn near complete. I'm going off on a tangent about blacklisting creators, but anyways, I love Mark Waid, and this is another example. And I didn't think I'd be disappointed. This hit me exactly like I thought it would. A little bit of nostalgia and a lot of joy for, you know, like getting to kind of discover this for the first time, even though this comic book is fucking 24 years old.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I really like it. I recommend it. People will check it out. It is a little bit part of its time, but it's definitely worth checking out. I know there's an omnibus that came out. Might be hard to find now. I don't know.
There's an omnibus. There's an epic collection too. I saw.
Yeah.
I think it's
digital too. It's on Marvel Unlimited, so if you want to check it out there for a little bit cheaper. I mean, obviously, it's the cheapest way to go about it, but it's good.
Or if you want to see these fucking Spider-Man Shipwire D fucking ads, you know what I'm saying?
I definitely ate that. I definitely loved it.
I definitely ate it, and I did too. You know, so I definitely also highly recommend it. I kind of would be down to probably do an episode of the first arc once it comes back. Of the Heroes Return, because I haven't read that in a while. I know I don't even think I've read most of it. I think I've read like issue 1 and then maybe a couple of the other earlier issues. But
and I mean, I read back in the day. I read this sporadically because we couldn't afford to buy books whenever we felt like it, because we were like 11.
That's true. Yeah,
I just read like I had 447 and then like this other random issue. I never had the whole story, but and then we should probably talk about Fantastic Four as well.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, right there on that shelf.
Yeah, I have
my fingers. My fingers pointing. I'm trying to. Boom! There it is. I think I'm touching it. No, there. But yeah, I mean, we definitely should talk all Mark Waid stuff. I mean, all his runs are such great fucking reading. You know, like his Daredevil, his Cap, Fantastic Four, the stuff he's done at DC too. And I'm excited for what he's got in the works. I know he's got a Black Label book with Brian Hitch, I believe.
Yeah, wasn't it
Superman?
Yeah,
Brian Hitch. So that'll be one last thing. Look at this fucking iconic.
The last one, yeah.
This is how they ended the fucking run. But I hate it. Like it is a weird ending though. You know, like it's like he's being abducted. For fuck's sake, he's being abducted by an alien,
As he
I was
salutes,
like, you guys could have done something else, you know, like
as he salutes.
I would have rather him been like walking off in the distance and turned around and just salute then, you know, but like, where are you going, Cap? But whatever, that's neither here nor there. And you know, I think it's pretty cool. You know, in the back, Ron Garney, Mark Waid talk about their time on the book and how much they loved it. And I think if you're a Cap fan and you don't mind reading stuff that may feel a little dated to you, I definitely highly recommend it. And like I said, like they got an Epic collection. The omnibus is probably out of print because Marvel's omnibus always go out of print, but also digitally. And on that note, if you're not already following us, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And on that note, we are out.